Well, we got so much to talk about here. Faith Goldy ran for mayor. She was in third place out of 30-something people going towards #1. They banned her advertising on the internet, on radio, on TV. They've been taking her off the internet everywhere. We have Martina Markota as well, and she is an artist and performer and writer and comic book author and a bunch of other successful things. She's been on the show before. She also goes out as a journalist and covers the insanity of the leftist here in the U.S. and also in Europe. And so I wanted to get Faith Goldy back on because she recently got married and has been out of commission, but she's back to talk about what's going on in Canada. But meanwhile, they've got nationwide gun confiscation about to be announced. We've got people running around talking about national gun confiscation here. We've got all this censorship happening, but people are fighting back with the yellow vest. What is the state of the world? You just traveled Europe, Faith Goldy.
Well, I'd say that the regular guy rebellion is in full swing and that Canada has not been spared. As you mentioned, Alex, just in that our Justin Trudeau is about to announce what sounds like a nationwide handgun ban. They've paraded around all the victims from various terrorist attacks who are now saying that law-abiding gun owners are somehow to blame for the firearms that were used, the illegal firearms that were used. And of course, Alex, as you covered dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of times on your program, we all know what this means. We've read this textbook in history before. We know that gun confiscation eventually leads essentially to an open playing field for the tyrant. And what's so interesting about this, and I would say a word to the wise for you Yanks, so to speak, south of the 49th, is this. The guns that they're coming after here in Canada, they're called restricted firearms, i.e. they are on a registry. And Alex, time and time again, folks within the pro-gun, pro-2A community say that registration leads to confiscation, and Canada right now is standing on the brink with this gun-grabbing, tyrannical, far-left so-called post-national government any day now due to release a report. They're priming the populace right now, but getting the victims out there saying we want a nationwide handgun ban, telling us that the report is about to come out, and they're saying that action thereafter might be imminent.
Well, let's not forget, when Trump declared a national emergency that's constitutional for the border, the Democrats, both Pelosi and Nadler, said, well, we'll use an emergency to take your guns. In fact, here's a clip of Nadler just last Friday.
If the president can declare an emergency today on this the Democratic president can decide that, as you mentioned, the 40,000 people a year killed in this country is a crisis, and why don't we take everybody's guns away, or force everybody to register their guns, or ban all assault rifles, or do all of that?
Martina Markota riding shotgun with us here with Faith Goldy. And again, your website's martinamarkota.com. Faith Goldy sites, faithfortoronto.ca, and at Twitter at Faith Goldy. And it's important to go to their sites themselves, folks. That's where you have to go now to actually get to people because everything's being massively censored. Your take on this, why do you think, I'm going to ask Goldy this, why do you think the left's gone from denying they want the guns to admitting it, denying they want to sexualize children, now admitting it, denying they want to destroy the family, now admitting it? I want to ask you both what you brought up for the break. Why are they so afraid of powerful, smart, good-looking, feminine women? Because they're jealous of it. But I want to get your take on, first, the guns. Why do you think the left's being so out in the open now?
Well, I mean, I think that they can do that now. This is what they've always thought, but they have to do it slowly, you know? They start slow, and then now they're at the point where they can do those things, and it's just obvious. That's what I think.
That's it. I mean, that's it. They're making their move. They think it's time to do it. Faith, what do you think?
That Martina is completely right. And hi, Martina, nice to see you here in 2D. Well, you know, look, this is what we talk about all the time, the Overton window. You know, it needs to be shifted in order to move around the perimeter, so to speak, of what we deem as acceptable within society. I remember before, for instance, the New York legislation about abortion, I'm pro-lifer, I'm unabashed about that, saying they don't care about term limits. They know what they're doing. They don't think this is a clump of cells. They know that they're out here killing babies. These people are spawns of Satan. And sure enough, now they've come out into full force because the populace have become so deprogrammed from reality and programmed into a complete vortex of untruths and lies that we're more lies, to hear complete evil, to hear complete, essentially advocacy for murder no longer shocks us as it would have, frankly, our forefathers. And the exact same thing is happening right now with firearms. Alex, it's just a registry. It's just a registry. It's just to make sure that we can keep track of where all the big, bad, scary guns are.
And then now I'm reading the Toronto paper. I'm reading the national paper. I'm reading Economist. And it's like, yeah, gun confiscation to begin. We just showed the headline for TV viewers. They're actually saying we're going to confiscate the guns. And folks go, well, that's only Canada. No. The New York Times, the case for repealing the Second Amendment. And I agree with you, Faith. They're pushing the envelope.
Well, I think that if they started, sorry, I was just going to say that I think if they started with this stuff back then, they never would have gotten anything. You know, they wouldn't have their way an inch. But the fact that they start slow, small, and then now they can increment all the way up to this point.
So what comes next to both of you?
It's a scary question, Alex. You know, I wish I was wrong for what comes next. My answers along the way, my 10 years of reporting, journalism, and commentary, I wish I was wrong every time I tried to warn people of what comes next. But let me tell you, we now have an international, both temporal and, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, a spiritual war between good and evil. And they are now personified as the nationalists versus the globalists. And the globalists are damn terrified because of organizations like yourself, like where Martina is, with the Daily Caller, with the Rebel Media, with the democratization of data that is slowly pulling people from the matrix and saying, hold on a second, we've been lied to, hold on a second, all this do-goodery that we've been saying that we've been doing for the rest of the world is actually having a negative effect on your family, on your community, on your country. And what happens when the powerful feel threatened is that they begin to do things like censorship, like taking away those things which make us, the little guy, the regular guy, frankly, the masses, powerful. That includes our freedom of speech, our freedom of consciousness, and indeed our right to defend ourselves. And in this case, it's to bear arms, if you will. So what comes after that? Well, if we're impotent, so to speak, to do anything about protecting our heritage, our present, and our children's future, well, then we are giving these guys, again, a wide open field to execute their will. And we've seen what their will is.
I totally agree. So let me ask you both this, and we'll come back for a break and talk more about it. If the end game is absolute tyranny, they're coming after the First Amendment, Second Amendment, right to bear arms all over the world. We see that almost as a negative thing, and it is negative they're doing it. But the fact that we've been so successful, we'll talk about Yellow Vests when we come back and other movements, other nationalist movements, the fact that we've pushed their timetable forward and made them take the velvet glove off, I see that as very, very positive, that we forced them into their more aggressive actual posture.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that we need to start doing more things like what Faith did, you know, is go into, like, do our own long march into the institutions, get into positions of government, try, you know, get into educational institutions, start teaching people, the children and stuff. I'm involved in the arts, so we got to get back into arts and culture, Hollywood and all that. So if we can start infiltrating the way that they did back into the institutions, we can gain control again, and definitely in government. I mean, just go run for office, do something, do what Faith did, you know?
And by the way, even though she lost, we're going to talk about this, she was an international sensation, got bigger than she ever was, showed them censor her, showed all this evil, and it really illustrated what was happening. So if people run again and again and again, it will break their back. Resistance is victory. If you lay down, they win. If you keep fighting, you get stronger, they lose. Don't adapt to being oppressed. Fight back against the oppression and defeat it. We're not victims. We're winners. We're victors. You know, part of my problem is that I don't want to say I'm too confident. It's not like I'm even punch drunk for being in this fight so long. I just have seen so many times God pull our bacon out of the fire that I almost just get, I want to say even lackadaisical about we're trying to row the ship to shore and there's holes in it and the water's right up to the edge of the top of the boat. We could go under any minute, but I'm just confident we're going to make it to shore thanks to listeners and viewers' support, understanding we literally are one of the main beacons of truth and justice, relaunching Americana, relaunching your basic human systems of success, relaunching men being men, women being women, and true, free, open societies, not the authoritarianism of the globalists. That said, the only way we circumvent their massive censorship is you spreading the word about Infowars.com, Newswars.com, the videos, the articles, the live links. And they want to inoculate everybody psychologically that Infowars is so bad and so evil. So you're afraid to talk to folks. No, that's the door in. Like, hey, you've heard about Infowars and the wild stuff they say about it. And, yeah, I have. Well, did you hear about this? Where George Soros said that we're in a war with China and the U.S. is going to win and that Trump's unbeatable. Oh, no, you didn't see that. That was a prospectus to big bankers. Well, Infowars.com has his actual statement. You see, the globalists are losing. And everything they're doing is a rearguard action. It doesn't mean we're offering some cult, drink the vodka and barbiturates and go up to the comet in the sky and everything's going to be perfect. But this current group of globalists, their system is falling apart. So bottom line, folks, we make it easy to support the broadcast. We have the best turmeric. If you don't know what turmeric does for inflammation, your body, your health, the great antioxidant, it's the best thing out there. We have 95% curcuminoid at a price of people that sell at 5% curcuminoid. So Bodies is amazing. Our protein bar is a high-end protein bar, discounted for $3 a piece. They sell for $6, $7 at Whole Foods. Ours is $3 the regular price. It's $2.40 on discount right now. It's an amazing high-quality protein bar. So they'll probably call it snake bars. He sells coffee. He's evil. He sells toothpaste. He's evil. It's all snake bars, snake bars. And Jones selling things is evil. He's trying to make money. Of course I am. I'm in a total war. Most revolutionaries have to rob banks and kidnap people for money. I don't do that. So InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWarsLive.com, or 888-253-3139. I'm a capitalist. I want to bring you products that blow you away, so you keep ordering them. Get Turbo Force, get Brain Force, still 50% off. That sale was supposed to end, but I've been too busy. This is the last day. New sales will start this weekend. So I'm going to be up here this weekend launching them. Whatever you do, take action today. A lot of big sales are about to end. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. Getting back to our guest, I want to get Martina Markota back on soon. I'm always like, hey, get her on. But now that they're depersoning her, she's here. I want to invite her back on a routine basis, just like I've invited Faith Goldy back on. But just closing comments about where you see the world going, other things that are on your radar screen.
Yeah, thank you for having me again. I'd like to come back anytime. But yeah, like I said, I just think that it's time for phase 2. In Comicsgate, we say phase 2. So there was a point of criticizing SJWs and the leftists and deconstructing what they're doing and showing how ridiculous it was, which actually really worked because it won us the election. Just their ridiculousness and exposing it really shows people how absurd they are. But then there's phase 2, which is create, let's build the world that we want to live in. So, I think that's what you're doing with some of your products and stuff. You're not just letting them make the products, you're making the kind of products you want to live in. And what I do in the arts, I just want to do the arts that I want to do. And Faith is really talented at doing what she does. So everyone should just find their skill and their craft and what they have to offer the world and push that out in there into the world instead of just being reactionary.
And people can find that different, beautiful world you're building at MartinaMarkota.com. Just amazing work, Martina, and we look forward to speaking to you again very, very soon.
Thank you. Bye, Faith.
Bye.
Faith, what she said is simple, but the simple is the most profound. We can't just be criticized how fallen and pathetic the globalist left is. We have to build that better world, which we're trying to do.
I think also we have to be unafraid to be bold and to exert some sort of strength, by which I don't mean I'm not calling for a physical revolution per se, but know that we are on the side of justice and truth and that we are fulfilling the destiny that our forefathers had envisioned when they first planted the seeds of the nations that we now exist in, and to walk boldly. Don't let these serpents, these lizard people, bully us into submission, to bully us us into thinking that we are these horrendous names that they call us, racist, white supremacists. All these things are just tools of oppression to keep us quiet, to shut us up. We have to be bold and proclaim the fact that we are walking in truth, that loving your country, loving your family, all of that is natural. All of that is healthy. And hating the idea of erasing your borders and moving towards more globalization is also okay. So do all of that and do it boldly. Be brave and be unafraid. Just because someone calls you a name or hurls some mud at you doesn't mean it's your turn to sit down. It's your turn to stiffen up your back, get out the shields, and march on.
And it's not because you're young and beautiful, but you remind me of my dad's mom, because she was a strong, smart, powerful woman that sounded just like you. Both my grandmothers were amazing, and I'm not just saying this to be patronizing. I don't see a lot of women that act like you. I don't see a lot of men that act like you. When I was a little kid, it was everywhere. It's like it's dying even in Texas. Well, how are you different, and how many women do you know that are strong like you?
Well, I would say that it's a mixture of having strong female role models and strong male role models as well in my life. Most specifically, I'd say my mom, and my mom always pointing upwards. When I say, Mom, you're the best mom in the world, and she said, it's because the Holy Spirit and God has helped me raise you. So, I would say that if you're raising young girls right now, keep looking up while you're looking down, so to speak, and continue to be moved by the Spirit of truth. And quite outside of that, I have always hungered and thirsted for truth. And here's the thing, is that when I was in school, the truth, the counterfeit truth that I was sold, it was shoved down my throat. And so I saw things through a certain lens. And once my mom revealed herself to be a right-winger. Well, basically, after that moment, I was confronted with the fact that right-wingers weren't some sort of, knuckle-dragging Neanderthals. And so I started engaging with their arguments. And from there, I became more of a conservative, call me what you will. But on top of that, I don't know. I think it's also my love of history, Alex. I've read, I know how great our nations are, and I know how terrible war and how terrible enemies of the good can be. I'm very, very acutely aware that we're closer than we think to our ancestors and those who came before us. And I'll be damned if we're going to make the same mistakes. I'll be damned if we're going to squander their legacies. So I suppose it's some of that. I'm very humbled.
I think the bottom line is you're connected to God, and it goes right through your ancestors. They were connected, and you are literally, you don't have GPS, you've got the Holy Spirit. And people don't understand that. You're not going to find it in these fake churches. You go in there, you feel the spirit of evil. It's a fake, glad handing, everything's great spirit. But no. The real Holy Spirit drives you, pushes you to do things, gives you great insights. But it's a real adventure. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And we need to pray for better politicians, and we have to pray for the Spirit of God to sweep our nations. Pray for your nations to be protected, and then continue to act. It's one thing. Some people are called to contemplative lives, and if that's you, that's fine. But if that's not you, then don't just sit behind a keyboard. Get out there. Talk to your families about the truth. Tell them about Infowars. Talk to your church groups. Find a church group. Start some activism, even postering campaigns. Help wake people up. Do your part.
We're going to do one more segment when we come back. We're a minute and a half out till break, but just you brought up so many points when we talked off air. Yellow vests, you're very excited about. They're like 15 weeks in. They're getting killed, and it's just like Venezuela. It's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. This is in a democratic nation, and we've got police literally firing on people trying to execute exercise their democratic rights. And now it's the globalist worst nightmare, contagion. It's spreading across the globe to places like Canada. And I'm looking forward to telling you a little bit about that movement here in Canada, how it's mutated and manifested, and how we're bringing this movement right to the front steps of our legislature in Ottawa.
We still got 40 seconds, but so it's definitely in Canada now.
Oh, 100%. And it's so interesting. Like there are a couple people who are sort of against it because we don't have the same history of yellow vests needing to keep them in their tanks, our trunks, etc. But it is symbolic of the fact that we are brothers fighting the same war, even though there are oceans that separate us.
And so I think you're hinting at the French contingent from Montreal. Is that part of the solidarity with France?
Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, Vancouver, it's sweeping the nation.
We'll be right back with Faith Goldy and more. The third hour. Stay with us. Faith Goldy is with us for a few more minutes. We've got the state rep in studio with Stuart Rhodes, who's introduced the legislation in Texas for Texas to fund our own wall. That's coming up. Faith, you were getting into the yellow vest exploding across not just Canada, but other parts of the world. A truly beautiful nationalist movement against carbon taxes, against globalism, against open borders. But 15, 14 weeks, how many weeks we're into this, the corporate media still hides who they really are.
That's exactly right. And we're seeing that trend again cross international borders. So the same way that we saw in France, the international media there saying it's all about a fuel tax. It's all about a gas tax. That's all that's happening. Macron walks back on the gas tank. And what do you know? These people continue to stand on the streets, march on the streets, and in fact, their numbers grow. Well, this past week here in Canada, we had our own United We Roll convoy for Canada. Huge trucks come in thousands and thousands of miles from our far west and our far east into central Canada, into the seat of power of Ottawa, where Justin Trudeau is. And their message was simple. No more UN migrant compact. We don't believe that you should be able to migrate to any country for any reason and that be declared a human right. No more open borders. Justin Trudeau erased our southern boundary without a democratic mandate. No more carbon tax, this tax on literal pixie dust. It's socialism, okay? And more pipelines. We don't want to be buying oil from all these dirty nations that beat their women and make them have male guardianships like Saudi Arabia. We got our own oil underneath this beautiful country. Drill, baby, drill. And what does the mainstream media, the corporate media do here in Canada? They say that it's all about pipelines. Well, of course they do, because we can talk about the economics, but God forbid that we talk about the bigger issues that our country right now is frankly being invaded by design by the globalists. And so it was amazing for me, and in a way kind of frightening, to see these guys, grassroots from all over the country, come together, organize this. I mean, there was no one leader, there was no one group. It was just a bunch of normal people.
Truly organic, not synthetic,
yes.
The opposite of AstroTurf.
Yes, absolutely, and their message was loud and clear along the side of their trucks and their buses, and the media was just like with a whiteout going through and just saying we're going to highlight these parts and censor these other parts.
Faith, let me ask you this question. I want to have you back soon just to get into this for a whole hour because it's so incredible. I think they run the risk of saying the French's back was broken, so they pushed it as the vanguard of globalist social engineering, and then it blew up biggest. I see the attempt to crush and dominate nice, friendly, hardworking, great Canadians of every race, color, and creed. I think Canada could be the next big detonator in this because they're pushing you guys so hard.
Yeah, people don't realize that Canada is the canary in the coal mine. We seem like, you know, the kind of lame brothers to the north, maybe, but we are actually the country right now facing the fastest rate of ethnic change globally. We also have the highest per capita immigration rate globally, actually twice that of the United States. And our illegal numbers are way, way high as a percentage of our population as well. This all coming, I'll be putting out a report pretty soon, as you look at the people who are running our country, and a huge percentage are actually people who weren't even born here. So it goes to show you that we're basically letting the foxes in charge of the hen house over here. And at a certain point, we, like Canucks, are going to start to push back. Don't forget, we're the ones who know how to cross-check properly in the good old hockey game. So I think that they continue to push us. They can be darn sure that we're going to be pushing back. And this week was just the very first domino in the line.
And again, immigration will work fine if people were brought in the melting pot, but they're being indoctrinated to hate Western nations when they're brought in, and people are aware of it. Faith Goldy, you are in fuego. You're awesome. People should follow you right now at Faith Goldy. Look forward to having you and your husband fly down to Austin to go host whenever you want. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Thank you.